That doesn't hurt.
Good evening, everyone. Welcome to this regularly scheduled meeting of the Wethersfield Board of Education. Tonight is Tuesday, September 27th, 2022. We are in the Town Hall chambers. Ellen, can we have roll call, please?
Yes, Chairman Carey. Good evening, everyone. Mrs. DeRoberts?
Here.
Mrs. Drew?
Here.
Mrs. Granato?
Present.
Mr. Healy? Mr. Lacavoli? Dr. Regan Lefebvre? Here. Mr. Riley?
Here.
Vice Chairman Mr. Cassio?
Present.
Chairman Mr. Carey?
Present.
And Wethersfield High School Student Representative Ryan Fazina?
Here.
All present.
Thank you. If we could stand and say the pledge and have Ms. Haas from the high school lead us. Sorry, I don't know your colleagues' names, or I would say all three of you, so I apologize. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. There is no student staff recognition tonight. Moving on to approval of minutes. Mr. Riley, I believe you have a motion.
I'd like to make a motion to approve the minutes of September 13th, 2022.
Do we have a second?
Second.
Do we have any discussion, comments? Seeing none with a motion and a second, all in favor, say aye. Aye. Opposed? Abstentions?
Abstain.
So noted.
Motion carries. Thank you, everyone. Moving on to public comment. Anyone in the public wishing to make comment, please step to the podium, state your name, address, and you have 5 minutes. Seeing no one, public comment is closed. Moving on to communications, Mr. Emmett.
Yes, sir. Thank you, Mr. Carey. Good evening, everyone. I have a few items for members of the community this evening. The state recently released a grant application for monies coming forward for HVAC and ventilation improvements. This money is going to be a matching grant program. The state will be holding 2 bidders conferences to provide details on the funding source and how we can apply these funds. I've already had a conversation with Physical Services Director Sally Katz. They're certainly interested as well. Mr. Kazak and I will be attending one of the 2 bidders conferences this Friday morning to get more information and to begin the planning process so we can take advantage of this funding. I will be attending, beginning tomorrow, the New England Association of School Superintendents Annual Conference. This will be held up in Northampton, Mass. Each year, one of the New England states serves as the host. Massachusetts is this year's host. This year's theme is Profiles of the Future. So looking forward to that and getting to meet up with some of my colleagues from across New England. I want to provide the community with an update on transportation. It continues to be an area of focus for us. I think that the efficiency has certainly improved since the beginning of the year, but we still have a few runs that are very inefficient with late arrival times. I know I was over at Webb Elementary School twice in the past week to look at bus 7, so we're looking at that one. And I know that Matt reported this evening at the Finance Committee meeting that we have an open choice bus that was very late in getting students home today. One of the challenges that we have faced is a lack of consistency of drivers. There have been many sub-drivers called in over the first month of school. These individuals are not necessarily familiar with routes. So one of the things that we're looking to do is to continue to make sure that we communicate with parents in the event that you've got a sub-driver or we know that you're going to have a late bus. We want to make sure we do that through Parent Square, so that will certainly continue. I also want to provide you with a brief update on the Stop Finder app. We are currently uploading that data into the Stop Finder app. We expect that to be going live within the next couple weeks. We will be sending out Parent Square messages. We're going to roll this out not all at once, but we're going to start to phase it in through some specific routes and then roll it out to everybody within the month. And this is an app that allows parents to figure out exactly, just by going to your phone, where that bus is and what the time frame is for arrival of your student. So stay tuned on that. We'll have more information at the next board meeting with regard to that. Just a COVID update. Again, we continue to hold our own with regard to the numbers. Looking at this week thus far, we've had a total of 8 cases between yesterday and today, 7 students, 1 adult. Cases have been largely spread among the schools, so we're not seeing a major impact with regard to sub-need at this point in time, which has been a real treat thus far. We've seen a lot of good learning going on in the classroom. I do want to give a shout out to our friends at the DeSopo Funeral Home. We got a communication from Christina Orsini that they had wipes, antibacterial wipes that they had extra of, and asked if we would be interested in getting those. Mike Barabalt made the connection with Christina, and we were able to get multiple packs of Lysol wipes that we can distribute out to the schools. So again, very, very many thanks to DeSopo for helping us out there. Also, we have a couple of other groups that I do want to make mention of. The St. Paul's Lutheran Church did a school supply drive back at the beginning of the year. They had extra supplies left over, so Pastor delivered those supplies to us. We coordinated the delivery of those materials out to all 5 of our elementary schools. So they went out to social workers. And today we got another delivery from Coldwell Banker. They had additional school supplies. They did a drive and wanted to make sure that these supplies got out to students in need. So those were delivered to my office today. We will, again, coordinate the delivery of those as well. So, again, thanks to our partners in the community for helping us out. And with that, that's communications.
Thank you. Moving on to action items. Ms. Drew, I believe you have a motion for us.
Yeah, I move that the Wethersfield Board of Education approve the international school trip request for Peru during the spring of 2023.
Do we have a second?
I'll second.
Thank you. Any discussion?
Yeah, Mr. Carey, we have 3 leaders from Wethersfield High School who are here with us. I can't figure out exactly who's doing which trip. They're all going somewhere. So if I could have Sue Coco, Steve Carr, and Andrea Haas come up, you'll all be up together.
Okay, so we're catching up after COVID is what, is happening. They'll tell you about theirs have been postponed. But the idea is that we're setting up international travel going forward so students can actually start planning on it when they're in middle school and going through high school. So we're going to keep coming back here. That's the hope. But I'm looking to go to Peru in the spring with some kids, and then I also have a trip in 2024 for Paris, Riviera, and Rome, to give kids an opportunity to travel abroad and get some experience, real world experience, and become global citizens. It's just an excellent. I successfully did the last 2 tours to Spain and to Greece, and it was amazing to watch the kids and what they learned. It was absolutely wonderful and worth every second of it. And only 1 case of COVID, and that was the last day before we left. So that's what
I am planning on taking students and adults to South Africa in June 2023. I had the opportunity in 2019, pre-COVID, to go to South Africa on an adult trip with some teachers from Virginia, and it was an incredible experience. I went to the Apartheid Museum and toured Soweto and saw Nelson Mandela and Winnie Mandela's home, and said, absolutely, students need to see this. It was an amazing experience seeing how people live in such a different location than we live in. And so this started in 2020, and then that went out the window. So we moved to 2021, 2022, and now we're headed into 2023, and hopefully we will get off the ground and get going. So we have, at the moment, 16 folks signed up, and we're going to do another enrollment meeting for the new students coming in and new people who might be interested.
Yeah. Hi, Steve Carr. So I have Iceland and Belize are set up to go. Iceland at the end of this year, and then Belize for next year. I've done Costa Rica, and I've also done the southern coast. I did Cinque Terre, Monaco, Nice, Barcelona, so the southern coast of Europe. So again, as a social studies teacher, experiential learning is the best thing ever, and these kids are just seeing them in relationships and having personal relationship with these kids is really a good thing. So I appreciate all the support for this, and thanks in advance.
Any board members with questions or comments? Yes, Dr. Regan Lefebvre.
These are all really exciting. I have a few questions. Number one, how do you tie these trips into curriculum? Are they tied to specific classes, or are there additional training students undertake? Two, how are they funded? How much do they cost students, and how do you make that equitable? And third, and most importantly, are you in need of chaperones?
The chaperone question is often asked, I will say.
Can
So,
we use our position to force us up to the top of the
hey,
line?
whatever gets it approved, though. A lot of times when we look at the different, so Sue and I have talked about doing different regions, so it's anything from language development to a lot of the stuff that even for Iceland, you're looking at, how has climate change impacted different countries, the idea of using different languages and culture, and for social studies and myself, even Belize, you're going to Mayan ruins, you're experiencing the culture of something. You're looking at British Honduras, one of the only English-speaking places in all of Latin America. So for me, it's definitely the cultural aspect and how you deal with things that make you uncomfortable. And, for me, at least social studies, that's...
So my theory is that it's open to everybody, because I've been around people who've done, like, it's only open to second-year Spanish students, and then it becomes very limiting. So it's open to everybody who wants to get whatever they want to get out of it. I mean, I'm an architecture teacher. Everywhere I go, I look at the architecture. But the idea is to open up the possibility to as many kids as we can to go, and they don't have to be in anything if they can choose to go and experience the world. I had another thought, and it's gone.
Prices.
The prices, yes, thank you very much. So we are, when we started to talk about it, we're trying to look at different price points for students in different locations so that it opens up a variety of tours. So between Belize and like South Africa and all that stuff, you have many different price ranges. And the earlier that we open up the enrollment, the more feasible it is for families. They also have the ability to do, it's like a GoFundMe page in EF Tours. So I have a student who's actually going to Iceland who is excited that she's already raised $800, and that option's there for them to reach out into the community, family, relatives, and all that stuff, so that they could afford to go. And we're looking at options for possibly trying to do some kind of travel scholarship for kids who really want to go and want to put some time and energy into, like, writing essays or something. That's our goal for the future, to make it for the kids who might really want it but aren't able to afford it, to be able to go that way as well. So we just keep it open to as many people as we can. Did that answer?
I was just going to add, for South Africa, as I said, it was experiencing this myself, and how eye-opening it is for students to see not just photos or internet images of how other people live, but to really see it for themselves. Plus, we will be going on a safari, so there's a lot of things about extinction and global warming and how it affects animals and things like that. My trip is also open to everybody, including adults. So, like I said, we're going to have enrollment, so if you're interested. But price point too, it's a little bit, some trips are a little bit more pricey, like mine that has a internal airfare between Johannesburg and Cape Town, and other ones are a little bit, so it's a range. But they also, EF has also done a scholarship that students, along with the GoFundMe, are able to sign up for and apply for.
Ms. Granado.
Thank you for doing this and for going with these students. It's so interesting to travel because it does teach you that people are different around the world, and this is their way of welcoming you and seeing what it's like. But I also love the idea that travel teaches you to be resilient. It just doesn't always go smoothly. And now you have, how many students will be in each one?
It just varies from trip to trip.
And to be able to cooperate and get along and solve the problems, that in itself is a lesson.
I'm going to tell you one little story, because if you've traveled over the summer, you realize that traveling was a little challenging, especially with the suitcases. I don't know if you saw any Heathrow airport pictures with, like, it looked like miles of luggage. We went, when we went to Greece, we had to lay over in Munich, and when we got on the plane, we all had carry-ons, and they made us check our bags. And we're going, it was not all of us, it was just 10 of us who had to check our bags, and we're just going, you're going to make sure. So we watched a thing of 6 of them go down the ramp on a thing, and I'm like, okay, and there was 4 left behind. And I'm like, you're sure those 4 are going to make it? Are you sure? They're like, we promise you. Well, those 4 made it. The 6 that went ahead did not. So I know, I'm like, and mine was on the 6 that went ahead, so I'm like, oh good, at least mine's going to make it, and didn't make it. So we spent 6 hours in the airport waiting for it. But you know what? It does. It teaches that resilience because the kids were just really kind of just go with the flow, and nobody was really stressing. We did what we had to do, and it does. It just, a lot of independence, too.
What an experience. Thank you for doing this.
And I was going to say, in addition to resilience, it teaches you to have a sense of humor, because the things that happen or that you don't expect, or you have to laugh at them because that's the way you become resilient.
Great, that's great.
Thank you. Any other questions? Yes, Mr. Riley, or comments?
Thanks so much for doing this and, exposing all the kids to something different. What generally is the length of the trips?
So the trips usually last anywhere from like 6 to 9 days, depending on the trip. Usually, especially if we're trying to get through April, obviously we don't want to interrupt learning. My June trip is 7 days, but I mean, you could do longer ones. They have ones up to 30 days, 15 days. I don't know who would ever do that, but yeah, it's usually about a week, somewhere around there. And it's just depending on, they need to do a lot of the planning like after they know all the signups. So about 100 days in advance, they'll do all the planning and really finalize dates.
Thank you.
Yeah.
I just want to say thank you, and it's great to have you all working together. And your elements are all different at the high school, what you teach, but yet the bottom line is your students. So I think that's really important, that they can see you're engaged, and that's so important now. But, I think one of the mottos is what happens in Belize stays in Belize. No, only kidding. You'll have fun.
Mr. Roberts.
Just educationally, I agree that it's a very valuable experience. Travel is a wonderful experience in so many ways, and I really appreciate that you're willing to do this. And also, they learn new cultures, but also what has struck me traveling is things that we see on the news locally and for our country. You go out into the world and realize those are the very same concerns that the rest of the world has, and it's wonderful to gain that perspective. So thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else? All right. Thank you, guys. Great job. Safe travels.
Thank you.
Yeah, I'm going to get there. We have to vote on all of them, but I was saying thank you so they could sit down. We have a motion and a second. All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Abstention? Motion carries. Ms. Drew, we have another motion, please.
I move that the Wethersfield Board of Education approve the international school trip request for Rome and Paris during the spring of 2024. And to give me my...
Do we have a second?
Second.
Any comments, questions? Seeing none, all in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? Abstention? Motion carries. Thank you. Ms. Drew, we have a motion.
I move that the Wethersfield Board of Education approve the international school trip request for Iceland in June of 2023.
Do we have a second?
Second.
Any questions or comments? Seeing none, all in favor, say aye. Aye. Opposed? Abstention? Motion carries. Ms. Drew, another motion, please.
I move that the Wethersfield Board of Education approve the international school field trip request for Belize in April 2024.
Do we have, thank you. Any questions, comments? Seeing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Abstention? Motion carries. Ms. Drew, last motion.
I move that the Wethersfield Board of Education approve the international school field trip request for South Africa in June of 2023.
Second.
Any questions or comments? Seeing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Abstention? Motion carries. Thank you again for coming in, taking time out of your night. Enjoy your trips.
We never get clapped.
Thank you, everyone. Thank you.
Reports and discussions, board members, make sure we check our packets for our committee meetings. If you can't make it, let the chair of the committee know. Meetings held, the correct council meeting held on 9/21/22. Ms. Granato.
Right, the correct council met in a hybrid council meeting on Wednesday, September 21st in 2022. The correct council is the Capital Region Education Council, of which Wethersfield is a member, along with 35 other surrounding towns. The council is responsible for the regional magnet schools and Project Choice. and they have organized and run Hartford's Head Start. The meeting started with a welcome back to the 22-23 school year and a short video of their opening of school. There was an important announcement for council members to sign up for committees that they wish to be on for the school year. And the consent agenda was passed on accepting the Connecticut Technical Education and Career System related services and the renewal of the Chef Technical Service Agreement, unanimously agreed upon. Executive Director Greg Florio showed a short video of the staff members commenting on why they enjoy their work for CREC and their passion for it. Greg also commented on the more positive start to the school year with the hope that the pandemic is behind us. Tim Sullivan, the superintendent of CREC, also spoke of the more positive school start. He discussed the staffing issues and his hope that all positions are soon filled, and they too have been dealing with bus driver shortages. Added to CREC schools this year is a magnet pre-K at the former Sound Bridge building in Wethersfield, and their Hartford Head Start program is 80% filled, and Wethersfield children are eligible for this Head Start program. The legislative update was given by Patrice McCarthy. She discussed that the legislature is not in session right now as it is awaiting elections, but she stated that there are some very controversial education issues to be brought up at the next session, more to come. And the meeting ended with council members talking of what CREC means to each of us. My comment had to do with the fact, as a Board of Ed member in a small town, knowing what's happening in the region and in individual towns in our region has been most important info for me as a Wethersfield board member. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Granato. Finance and Information Management Committee meeting held 9/27/22. Ms. Drew.
So we had our meeting tonight. We discussed last year's financial report. It's actually going to it's in audit right now. And we reviewed our monthly forecast, but we ended the year at 0. And then we currently, for our financials, we are on target, but we continue to monitor lines, including special ed placements and transportation.
Thank you, Ms. Drew. Meeting scheduled Student Programs and Services, 10/13/22 at 6 p.m. CREC Council on 10/19/22 at 11:30 a.m. There is no unfinished business. Public comment. Anyone in the public wishing to make comment, please step to the podium, state your name and address, and you have 5 minutes. Seeing none, public comment is closed. Moving on to board comment. Anyone from the board wishing to make comment? Yeah, go, Mr. Riley.
I attended the Career Advisory Board meeting last night, and there's a bit to update, and I'll get through it quickly. They raised nearly $1,500 from Puerto Vallarta last June. The meeting dates have been set up for this year. Those will be set up shortly. There are 7 students interning, and they should be placed by October. The career fair is scheduled for the week of April 17th. Lunch and learns will commence next month. Mock interviews will resume soon as well. They discussed ideas to increase membership, which was to maybe have students involved, folks from higher education locally or government officials, and also perhaps rotate members every few years. There was training in conjunction with Chick-fil-A, and I guess the training was focused on skill sets rather than the company itself. Eileen Candles, the Director of Partnership and Advanced Technologies, had a presentation. There will be a meeting at the Connecticut Convention Center with 90 companies coming up soon. And there will be a manufacturing company's presentation October 13th from 2 to 4.
Thank you, Mr. Riley. Ms. Granato.
My comment is on that the Wethersfield Education Foundation has their first meeting of this school year tomorrow night at 7 o'clock at the Wethersfield Country Club. The Wethersfield Foundation has a mission to enhance and enrich the Wethersfield School curriculum. And a week from Thursday, which would be October 6th at the Wethersfield Country Club, we have a speaker who happens to be a graduate of the Wethersfield school system, and she's now at WFSB as their vice president. And she is giving a speech on fact or fiction. So please get your table, get your tickets. It should be a delightful evening. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else?
I just have one,
Ms. Drew?
a request for a correction on the dates for student programs and services. It lists the date as January 7th, and as much as I know that Mr. Healy loves this,
What are we talking about?
right here.
On the yellow calendar?
January 7th is a Saturday, and I don't see him coming to a meeting on a Saturday. I believe it's supposed to be the 17th, so if somebody could
Got it.
correct that.
Got it.
Excellent. Anyone else?
I have
I
comment.
actually look at these.
Mr. Fazina?
Yeah, I just want to speak very quickly about the high school and some of the ongoing projects and programs that we have in place. I spoke about it a bit last meeting, but Eagle Crew is continuing to meet and met during the open house that was recent. One of the focus areas for the 2022-2023 school year is to develop our student body to be more involved in leading one of our major programs. Eagle Crew, as I mentioned, gave 4 different opportunities to students, each of which comprised some semblance of school spirit and engagement. Part of the Eagle Crew's job was to launch our first open house since 2019. Parents and guardians had the opportunity to meet all of their children's teachers and were helped to navigate the building by these Eagle Crew members. Giving a quick congratulations to the marching band who represented us at the 23rd annual Rocky Hill Battle of the Bands with the program Phoenix Rising. Great show. Moving forward, we look to see during November the New England Association of Schools and Colleges accreditation visit. We've worked very hard, administration has, as well as the staff, to create a mission and core value statements and belief about learning, which complement our vision of the graduate. These include being able to communicate, being a problem solver, and being able to collaborate. Together, these 3 core values guide our school and will guide our school for the next 10 years. And finally, the WHS cafeteria is back to pre-pandemic lunch waves. While it seems to be a bit crammed at times, it's much better than the 4 to 8 different lunch waves that we had within the past couple of years. This back to normal has really been great for a lot of the students I've seen, and morale, and integrating the new mission into some of the decorations within the cafeteria, I think showcased our school in a very good light.
Excellent. Thank you.
Thanks, Ryan. Thank you.
Anyone else? Yes, Dr. Regal Lefebvre.
A few brief ones. First of all, Shana Tova to anybody in the Wethersfield community who has been celebrating the Jewish high holidays. Happy New Year to you. I want to just thank all the teachers and paras and administrators who made open house such a success at our schools over the past 2 weeks. I had the pleasure of going to my kids' open house at Hanmer, and I was just so impressed with what the teachers do to make learning collaborative and also to address so many different levels in the same classroom. And it's really fantastic what they're doing, in spite of the fact that the building is looking really worse for wear. Just to throw that out there. And then I want to thank my colleagues, Jim Riley and Chuck Carey, for getting the ball rolling on this and setting it up. That we're going to move forward with PTO liaisons from the Board of Ed. We've each been assigned a PTO to liaise with, to attend those meetings. And I think this is a great initiative, and I'm really glad that it's been put into place. I think it's going to make us much more keyed into concerns of parents on the ground. So thank you for that.
Excellent. Anyone else? Yes, Mr. Cassio.
Yes, I was not at the last board meeting, but I just want to compliment the superintendent and the faculty and staff for a wonderful teacher convocation this past year. It was second to none. The spirit, the enthusiasm, the excitement. It was a lot of collaboration from grade levels and schools, and an opportunity, I think, for everyone to really show their skills and talent, and a lot of humor, which is very important. So good job. Thank you.
Anyone else? I'd like to thank the high school for a great open house. As Mr. Fazina said, the students were there helping parents get along and find their way, and I know my wife got lost a few times. The school has not changed since was there, and I'm not going to say how many years ago, but it was great to see people in the building. Same thing with Charles Wright, and I've heard a lot of positive feedback. Also, it was great to have Mr. Emmett come to Charles Wright night. It was our back-to-school night on last Friday. So we had bingo and had a lot of fun, so thank you for coming. The PTO appreciates it. And do we have a motion to go into executive session?
So moved.
Do we have a all in favor? Aye. Opposed? Abstention? Motion